England's lighthouses stand as symbols of safety, yet some harbor dark, chilling secrets. Join us as we explore the UK's most haunted lighthouses, where the living and the dead are eerily close. 1. St. Catherine's Lighthouse. St. Catherine's Lighthouse, perched on the southern tip of the Isle of Wight, has been guiding ships through treacherous waters for centuries. However, this once reliable beacon is now associated with the ghost of James, a former lighthouse keeper who tragically fell to his death while attempting to repair the light. His fall occurred in the late 19th century, but it is said that his spirit remains bound to the lighthouse. Visitors have reported hearing the distinct sounds of hammering echoing through the tower late at night, though no workers are ever present. Others have spotted James's shadowy figure, clad in old-fashioned clothing, pacing around the lighthouse during foggy nights. His spirit seems to grow restless when storms approach, as if warning the living of an impending disaster. Some even claim that the beam of the lighthouse flickers just before a storm, as though James himself is trying to guide sailors away from danger, but is unable to escape his tragic fate. Those brave enough to stay overnight have described feeling a sudden coldness, especially near the top of the tower, as if James is still watching over them. His intense longing to protect those at sea seems to transcend death, leaving a haunting imprint on the lighthouse that will not fade. At times, the light behaves strangely, switching off and on intermittently, and some believe this is James trying to send one last message, an unfinished warning lost in time. 2. Belle-Two Lighthouse. Belle-Two Lighthouse, towering over the dramatic cliffs of Beachy Head, is shrouded in a mystery that dates back to the Second World War. During this time, a shipwreck took the lives of a crew, and though most of the bodies were never recovered, it is believed that the spirit of one lost sailor now haunts the lighthouse. This sailor, who was never found after the wreck, is said to have become part of the lighthouse itself, wandering its empty halls. Some visitors have seen his shadowy figure in the tower, staring out from the lighthouse window, but as they approach, the figure disappears into thin air. Others report an eerie feeling of being watched, accompanied by the sound of footsteps on the spiral staircase, echoing in the silence. Locals say that on certain nights, especially during heavy storms, the sailor's presence is particularly strong. His form is often seen standing near the lighthouse window, a lone figure staring mournfully out at the sea, waiting for a ship that will never return. On foggy nights, the ghostly figure has been seen walking along the cliffs as though continuing his eternal search for the shipwreck he never survived. Some say that this spirit seeks to guide the lost souls of other sailors, forever trying to right a wrong that can never be undone. Strange occurrences continue in the lighthouse, where some swear they've felt a chill in the air or seen the figure of the sailor vanish at the exact moment they turn to look. It's as though his restless energy never truly fades, forever tied to the lighthouse. 3. South Stack Lighthouse. South Stack Lighthouse stands as a sentinel on the rugged cliffs of Anglesey, but its towering presence is overshadowed by the tragic story of Sarah, a young woman whose grief-filled spirit is said to haunt the area. Sarah was the daughter of a fisherman, and her heart was broken when her lover, a sailor, went to sea and never returned. After waiting in vain for many months, she ventured out to the cliffs during a violent storm, where she was said to have leaped to her death in an act of despair. Since that fateful night, Sarah's ghost has been spotted wandering the lighthouse and the surrounding cliffs, always looking out to sea. Her apparition is said to be particularly active during moonless nights or during particularly fierce storms. Witnesses claim to have heard her soft sobbing carried on the wind, and those who approach the lighthouse on dark nights often feel an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair, as if Sarah's grief still permeates the very air around the lighthouse. Some say that her figure is often seen standing by the cliff's edge, gazing out at the water, still waiting for her lost lover to return. On rare occasions, visitors have reported seeing her vaguely transparent form on the stairs of the lighthouse, her eyes hollow, as though trapped between life and death. The lighthouse beam sometimes flickers strangely in the night, as if Sarah herself is reaching out for help, but ultimately, the light cannot guide her toward peace. Some have also claimed that Sarah's spirit touches them lightly as they stand at the edge, offering a fleeting moment of comfort before her sorrow overtakes them once more. 4. Point of Air Lighthouse. The haunting story of Point of Air Lighthouse begins with a fisherwoman whose life was tragically cut short by a brutal storm. Local legend tells that she was out fishing when the waves became too powerful and swallowed her whole. Her body was never recovered, and some say her spirit now haunts the area, searching endlessly for the home she never returned to. People who visit Talaka Beach at night often report strange occurrences, footsteps in the sand that appear and disappear with no one in sight. Others describe seeing a ghostly figure walking along the beach, shrouded in mist, sometimes vanishing as quickly as she appeared. On stormy nights, the figure seems to grow clearer, more defined, as though the spirit of the fisherwoman is attempting to lead others away from the dangers lurking in the waves. Those who have stayed at the lighthouse overnight claim to have heard soft whispers calling their name, and some even say they have felt an overwhelming sense of grief and loneliness in the air, as though the spirit is reaching out in search of comfort. The lighthouse itself is said to become uncomfortably cold on certain nights, as if the very building is connected to the woman's restless spirit. Some have also described seeing a flash of light on the horizon when the mist begins to settle, thought to be the fisherwoman's desperate signal, lost in the waves forever. 5. Whitby Harbour, West Lighthouse. Whitby Harbour West Lighthouse, with its striking Victorian architecture, has a dark and tragic past, tied to the fate of a shipwreck that claimed the lives of an entire crew in the 1800s. The spirits of the sailors who perished that day are believed to still haunt the lighthouse. Locals report hearing the faint sounds of screams and cries for help, seemingly coming from the lighthouse itself, especially during heavy fog. Some claim that the lighthouse beam sometimes glows unusually bright at night, even when it is not in use, as though the spirits of the lost sailors are trying to communicate. But it's not just the sounds that unsettle visitors. It's the shadowy figures that sometimes appear on the lighthouse tower, staring down at the harbor below, their faces indistinct, their eyes hollow with the same terror that they experienced during their final moments. One particularly chilling story involves a visitor who swears they saw a crew member's ghostly face reflected in the lighthouse's windows, staring back at them with an expression of utter fear. People who have braved the lighthouse at night often report feeling a strong sense of unease, as though they are being watched from all angles, with a growing sense that the dead are never truly gone from this place. On the rare occasions when the lighthouse beam appears to falter, it is said that those who stand near the harbor feel a heavy pressing force, as though the spirits are trying to communicate a warning lost in time. 6. Bamburgh Lighthouse. Bamburgh Lighthouse, which overlooks the wild coastline of Northumberland, has a fascinating connection to a Saxon warrior who died in battle many centuries ago. Legend has it that the warrior's spirit still roams the area, guarding the lighthouse and the land he fought to protect. Over the years, visitors have reported strange experiences while near the lighthouse. Some have heard the sound of marching feet on the cliffs, while others claim to see a shadowy figure in the distance, carrying a sword and shield. Locals believe that this warrior's ghost is still patrolling the cliffs, protecting the land from invaders, just as he did during his lifetime. But his spirit is not one of peace. Some say that his rage still burns brightly, especially during storms. On particularly dark and windy nights, visitors often feel an oppressive weight in the air, a sense that the warrior's spirit is near, his eyes watching for those who dare to approach the lighthouse. Some have even claimed to hear the clink of metal or the shuffling of armor in the night, as though the warrior is still preparing for battle. It is said that the air near the lighthouse becomes unnaturally cold when the warrior's presence is near, making it clear that he is still guarding this place, even in death. Others who have stayed nearby claim to hear a deep grunt or growl, as though the warrior is warning them to leave the sacred grounds. 7. Longstone Lighthouse. Longstone Lighthouse, located on the desolate Farne Islands off the Northumberland coast, has a famous connection to Grace Darling, a young woman who became a national hero after rescuing survivors from a shipwreck in 1838. While Grace's bravery is celebrated, it is said that her spirit has never left the lighthouse, continuing her role as a guardian of the sea. However, some accounts tell a darker side to her spirit. After her death, Grace's ghost is believed to haunt the lighthouse, still trying to save others from the same fate she once faced. Her figure has been seen standing near the lighthouse, holding a lantern high as though guiding lost sailors to safety. But as the years have passed, Grace's spirit is said to have become restless. Some visitors have claimed to see her wandering the rocks near the lighthouse, her form fading in and out of the mist, as though forever trapped in time. Her lantern sometimes flickers with an eerie glow, guiding lost souls into the fog, but some believe it is an omen of disaster. On stormy nights, her presence seems more intense, and some say they hear the distant sound of waves crashing, mixed with faint cries of anguish, as though Grace is still trying to rescue those lost in the sea, even beyond death. Some believe she is forever bound to the lighthouse, unable to rest until the souls she saved are freed. 8. Walney Island Lighthouse. Walney Island Lighthouse, located on a quiet stretch of coastline in Cumbria, has become notorious for the eerie disappearance of a former lighthouse keeper who vanished without a trace. The keeper, who was last seen preparing for a severe storm, was never found. Some believe he met a tragic end, but others think that his spirit was claimed by the sea. His ghostly presence is said to haunt the lighthouse, especially during stormy nights. Visitors often report hearing the sound of a bell tolling, even though the lighthouse bell has long been silent. Others have seen the shadowy figure of the keeper walking along the cliffs, carrying a lantern that flickers in the wind. Some claim to feel a cold, oppressive air around the lighthouse, as though the keeper's restless spirit is still waiting for something or someone. Those brave enough to stay the night have reported hearing footsteps in the tower, and on rare occasions, even the unmistakable sound of scratching on the door, as if the keeper is trying to be let in. Some have also described seeing a flash of light on the horizon when the mist begins to settle, thought to be the keeper's desperate signal, lost in the waves forever. 9. Scarborough Lighthouse. Scarborough Lighthouse, which overlooks the bustling harbour of the coastal town, is believed to be haunted by the spirit of a sailor who drowned in the harbour many years ago. This sailor's tragic fate is thought to have left him bound to the lighthouse, where his ghost still wanders. The haunting has been described as especially intense on nights when the fog is thick and the sea is tumultuous. Visitors often report hearing footsteps pacing back and forth in the lighthouse, even when the place is empty. Some say that on particularly stormy nights, the lighthouse beam flickers erratically, as though the sailor's spirit is trying to communicate with the living. Those who have braved the lighthouse at night often report feeling a strong sense of unease, as though they are being watched from all angles, with a growing sense that the dead are never truly gone from this place. On the rare occasions when the lighthouse beam appears to falter, it is said that those who stand near the harbour feel a heavy pressing force, as though the spirits are trying to communicate a warning lost in time. Some even claim that the sailor's presence becomes stronger during high tide when the waves are crashing against the rocks, as though his spirit rises with the water. 10 Souter Lighthouse and the Lees Souter Lighthouse, located on the windswept cliffs of South Shields, is not only haunted by the usual spectres of sailors and lighthouse keepers, but also by the restless spirit of a woman who tragically took her own life. The woman, a local resident, had been waiting for her lover to return from sea, but when he did not, she grew consumed by despair. She leapt from the cliffs, choosing death over the pain of waiting any longer. Her ghost is said to wander the cliffs near the lighthouse, searching for her lost love, never finding peace. Those who venture near the lighthouse during foggy nights have claimed to see a figure dressed in white, walking aimlessly along the shore. Some say they feel a deep sense of sadness and loss in the air, as though the woman's grief is still alive. Visitors report hearing her soft, desperate whispers carried on the wind, as if she is calling out for help. On particularly stormy nights, her form is said to materialize by the lighthouse, looking out over the water, her face full of longing and sorrow. The lighthouse beam is said to flicker at the same moment, as if trying to guide her, but never able to bring her peace. Some say they've felt an inexplicable cold hand brush past them near the cliffs, a fleeting touch of the grief-stricken woman still yearning for the love she lost. As we conclude this eerie journey through England's haunted lighthouses, we hope you've been both spooked and captivated. For thousands more recently reported haunted locations, make sure to subscribe to Creepy Experience. Drop a comment with your thoughts or any creepy encounters you've had. We'd love to hear from you.